Can I truly be a passive investor and be my own bank? Stay tuned. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, where every week, yes, every week at 11:05 Central Time on Wednesdays, we bring you the best guests and amazing content, and we appreciate you joining us again today. So, three things before we get started with our guest today. Number one, make sure that you like what you see, right? Just hit that like button, give us that thumbs up. Make sure and subscribe to the NoteSchool TV channel if you have not already done so. I was counting the other day, and we are on probably our 130th or 40th episode. So make sure and look back at our body of work there. So make sure and subscribe to the NoteSchool TV channel. And number three, hit that bell notification. Yes, if you have not already done so, go ahead and boom, hit that bell notification so that you will be notified when? Right before we go live every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, please keep your comments coming, guys. Eddie and I love to hear from you. We love to hear what's on your mind, what's going on in your world. So please keep in contact with us. And if you would like to learn how to close more deals with NoteSchool, well, simply go to NoteSchool.com. Again, NoteSchool.com/TV. NoteSchool.com/TV, and we would love to have a conversation with you about what we do at NoteSchool, and maybe have you in one of our master classes here in the near future. So again, send those comments in. We love to hear from you. And now it's time for what we do every week at the same time is, well, let's go to the news. So today in the news, the big headline is that Wells Fargo wants the number one player in mortgages is stepping back from the housing market. Yes, Wells Fargo, number one bank home mortgage lender. And we'll talk a little bit in just a second about Quicken, which is also Rocket, which is the largest non-bank lender out there. We'll talk a little bit about them as well. So Wells Fargo is now focusing on home loans for existing bank customers, wealth management folks, and borrowers in minority communities. So they are backing out of the big picture, and they're going to focus on just what they have. They are also shuttering their correspondent business. These are loans that are originated by or that are written by mortgage brokers, and then those mortgage brokers send those loans over to the Wells Fargo wholesale division, and they close them, and the mortgage brokers make a fee for doing so. They're also significantly shrinking their mortgage servicing portfolio, so they're selling assets, and they just had a fresh round of layoffs. They laid off about 14,000 people so far in the third and the fourth quarter of 2022. So that's a big deal. And then we've got Goldman Sachs. Said every 10 minutes, I just kept hearing that someone was being let go. Last week, they laid off on Tuesday and Wednesday 3,200 of their employees. That's about 6.5% of their workforce, and mainly it was from their consumer lending business. And guys, I've got a list of here that don't have time to do today, but maybe next week on our monthly update of, it's kind of it's a big deal out there with thousands and thousands and thousands of folks being laid off from the lending business, mortgage lending business. So stay tuned for that. And now, guys, I want to introduce you to a guy that you all know, your friend and mine, Chief Visionary Officer for NoteSchool, founder of NoteSchool, Mr. W. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Wow, the lending business is contracting, Eddie, which is really fits right into what our vision is for this year, right?
Let me tell you, it's you heard the expression, it's the shot that's heard around the world. I would say for Wells to pull out of the loan origination space is a shot that's been heard around the world.
Yes.
They don't see a good future. They had issues with CFPB.
Yep.
Got a big fine against them. And I think they're just not making money on their mortgage book, which is a lot of what we're seeing in the marketplace. I was talking to a significant industry player here literally this morning, and his response was, it is just a reflection of more to come.
Yeah.
So, Joe, I will say this. Those who know how to play in a contrarian market are going to do well.
Very well.
Those who don't know how to play in a contrarian market are going to get some education that they weren't looking for. That's the truth.
I like the way you put
it's
that.
Our space, and we it's our space, and so we do that. Today, our guest is not an active real estate investor.
Right.
And so we're going to take a little different direction today, Joe. We're going to talk about how to do this in a way when you're saying, this is not what I want to focus on all day, every day. So we're going to have a fun time with him. And Joe, I will see you here in a minute and let you round us up.
Very good. All right. Bring on our guest, man.
I'll do it. So today we have a guest that is not in one of these masterminds that I'm in. He's not some active real estate investor. He's got a very busy job and a family life. And he decided to go choose this path of buying notes because he wanted to be the bank, not a landlord. And he didn't want a job. He didn't want a second job. So let's welcome him, Mr. Doug Faus.
Hi,
Good
Eddie.
morning.
How are you today?
How you doing?
Good.
Well, you're in the wintertime in a cold part of the world, right?
Yeah. Laramie, Wyoming.
Laramie, Wyoming. And what do you do, Doug?
Well, I'm a hospital CEO. I work full-time as running a small rural hospital in Laramie, and that's my day job. That and having a pretty busy family life. I've got 4 kids, and we do a lot of running around in the evenings.
I bet you do. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for taking the time. I think your story represents a possibility for a lot of people that people just don't really consider, right? Because, first of all, I want to congratulate you for being in the NoteSchool family. You've been a great contribution, and thank you for that. What was the biggest reason, Doug, you hadn't checking us out?
Well, I've always been an investor, mostly with my stocks and bonds through my career, and I've done okay saving money and putting it into 401ks and putting it into my own personal investments as well. But 2020 hit, and it gave us a lot of time to reflect on what we were doing in life, and I wasn't quite sure what the future of healthcare looked like, so I was really exploring different options and checking out different, quite frankly, real estate. I've always been interested in real estate. I've probably bought way too many programs and spent way too much money, more than I would like to admit. But as I was looking through all of the possibilities, my bond portfolio was terrible. You're supposed to have this split between stocks and bonds, and the bonds were just were really bad, and the stocks were just so volatile that I figured there had to be something else that I was missing. So I really, over that course of 2020, looked into different paths, looked into some commercial investing through some online platforms that allow you to invest a partial portion into those investments. Looked at all kinds of real estate programs, but they just all required a lot of time, and I just didn't have that much time during the day and wasn't willing to quit my job to go jump head first into those things. But actually, one of those courses is how I tripped across NoteSchool. I was Mitch Stevens' course actually, and he had mentioned this. He'd mentioned you a lot of times without saying your name, and then I finally figured out who you were, and then just kind of went down that path and found my way into Notes Direct, that platform. But what I was missing, I really couldn't put the pieces together without really being a member of NoteSchool and thoroughly understanding what buying notes was all about. So that's what kind of got me to where we are today.
Mitch is a long friend of mine. We did business together and started in the mid '90s and done a whole lot together. Mitch has kind of gone a different path than what you're talking about. Mitch has created notes. So where I helped Mitch, I think, is like how to go propel yourself, build your own bank with creating notes and recapitalizing and so forth. You've gone down a path of buying notes. And I guess originally, did you get on, you got on our note trade platform, right? Notes Direct?
Correct. Yeah. I did. And it took me, I was looking through that platform and really didn't know what I was looking for. So that's why becoming a member of NoteSchool kind of got me over that hump.
You know, we Notes Direct. Here's why I built Notes Direct. Right. If in 20 years of teaching, what I figured out was students ask me the same thing over and over and over. I don't have time to go build a note buying business. Right. People like you that had some money, but they weren't looking for the aggravation of rentals. They sure weren't looking for the job of flipping houses. Right. Which is a job and a grind, quite honestly. Not it's bad. It's just, that's just what it is. Right. And so we built Notes Direct to be like, okay, what if we went and found the notes and we put them on a platform and you could buy them? Now, what you're saying is, okay, I got that part, but I didn't know what to buy.
Correct.
I didn't know when to pull the trigger. Right. And so that's why we've always considered Notes Direct and NoteSchool to be twin sisters. Because they bring value to each other, right? Yes, we have a platform we've traded 6,000 individual notes on. That's a lot. There's nobody in the industry come close to that. But then you got involved in NoteSchool and you got down to a deeper level. So that's what I want to really get down to is what's life been like since NoteSchool? Like what does that journey look like in your view?
Yeah, so my journey was really, once I joined NoteSchool, was getting onto the platform and just doing a deep dive into all the content. And I looked at all of it. I mean, you've got several aspects of NoteSchool that really cater to different types of people. So, and I looked at all of them, so going down and still potentially creating notes and things like that. But in the end, I really gravitated towards buying performing notes and also non-performing notes. And that's where I put my focus. And you do weekly calls, and I was able to be on those weekly calls and really learn a lot as you explored individual notes and did deep dives in how you kind of vet things before you hit the purchase button. So that was my path. It took me a couple of months of just trying to understand that, but you have a lot of information on those, and once you kind of get a grasp of it, then you just have to have the courage to hit the purchase button.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way to accelerate people's knowledge. I mean, I'm Doug. I'm certainly not smarter than you, but I've got 100,000 hours doing due diligence on assets. So if I can transcend that information to you in a more efficient way, then that was a good reason to have NoteSchool. It was a good reason for you to be involved.
Yeah.
So you're in our long-term program, our membership, we call it, right? You can call it mentoring or coaching, and it's all the above in one way, shape, or form. And, when people join a program and they're looking for that, they're looking for a mentor, there are some people who want a lot more of this and a little less of that or whatever. And so what is it you were looking for? And then what did you experience?
Yeah, so I had what I was really looking for was more time with a mentor, and that doesn't mean one-on-one time, because I know that actually gets real expensive, but it can be part of a group effort, and that's what I've found in NoteSchool, where I have weekly access to you and Joe and Bob through the various calls that you host every week, and we can bring deals to you and explore them, which I've done. I've brought a couple things on the platform or onto the weekly calls, and so that's what I was looking for, is someone kind of to hold our hand a little bit, and give you that confidence to take and get over that hump. There's other gurus that are out there that sell you something and then you just never see them. I paid for a nice course that 3 months into it, I never saw the person who I thought sold me the course. So that's not what you do. I see you every week. And also when we go to the NoteSchool events in the Summer Summit, and then also the Note Expo, we have great access to the whole team, and have come to know all of them. And you form friendships, and that's a nice added bonus that I really wasn't expecting to have that good of access. So that's kind of been my experiences since I've been part of NoteSchool.
My vision when I started NoteSchool, I realized that a lot of people said, I want a coach or a mentor, and they had an expectation a guy could just stop and go just do, individual coaching all day. And as you said, it's not economically feasible. And if you did it, the student would pay way too much. Probably 97% of anything, Doug, I would say to any other NoteSchool student in an audience of, dozens of people or hundreds of people even, right? In other words, it's the same concept. It's the layering that get people better at it. You hear me say it's one thin layer of paint at a time, right? And that's what these deal labs are, is they're real deals and real stories, real situations. And we break it down, and I try to investigate in my mind and what I see, like if a student if there's a pattern, and obviously we're saying they're typing in questions and stuff. So we get to understand pretty quickly what they're thinking, right? What they're not clear about. And so thank you for that. We put a lot of effort into that. I mean, the prep time for my team for any one deal lab is several hours of work to go pull those together. So we place a high value in that, and we absolutely do it. And then when we teach just the classes, when people come to a class, that's what we do, is we take case studies we've seen from deal labs, and we just pull them out and just unfold them. Here's how it worked, and here's the decisions that were made and stuff. So how long have you been in NoteSchool?
I joined in July of 2021.
Okay. So now that you're down the road, there's nothing like success, right? And so I want just a little bit of a testimonial, now that you've been here, we've talked about what the learning journey has been. Let's talk about, what you've done. Like, have you made any money? Has it worked?
Yeah, it's been very successful. My first note I purchased was on a Monday night call. You used to have a guy named Case, an asset off of Notes Direct, and it was funny because you reviewed the asset and you said some kind of comment like, "Boy, that one's priced too good. I think if nobody buys it, I'm going to pull it." And I hit the purchase button real fast, and actually while we were still on the phone or still on the webinar. So that was my very first note. I purchased that in December of 2021, and I've gone on to purchase 8 more notes since that point. I've learned through the time that I'm kind of gravitating towards some of the larger notes, mostly because the service fees don't take as much out of the monthly payment. Yes. So that's been something I'm kind of really focused on, is trying to find some of those larger notes.
Yeah, and just to give the audience a sense, servicing fee will run anywhere from $20 to about $30. So if you're getting a $1,000 payment, that's way different than paying a property manager to manage your rental, right?
Right.
So you got 9 notes,
Correct.
and they're throwing off what kind of income?
So they don't pay always exactly on time. You do get a little chunkiness. Mine are all paying; they're all performing. But I have roughly about $7,000 a month coming in from the 9 notes that I've purchased so far.
Well, that's mailbox money that you can count on no matter what happens in anything else, right?
Yes,
And these are long-term notes, so you're going to get a check a long time in the future. You've probably heard me say this saying, but I never will forget it. I actually learned this from a guy that I did a lot of land business with. And he used to have a saying. He would say to me, Eddie, if you do this, whatever this was, if you do this, it'll be good to you a long time in the future. And so the next question is, I bet the audience, is going like, okay, here's a guy that's, clearly very busy in his job. He's describing a family that keeps him very busy at home. He says he got into this for passive. How passive is this, Doug? I mean, how much time does it take?
Well, it takes some time up front, really just to get yourself educated. But, everybody's got an extra couple hours in a day, and not during work time, but I like to get up early. I'll get up at 4:30, and I have a couple of hours before my family's up, and I don't feel like I'm taking any time away from my family. And that's how I made this investment of time, is to spend that time there. And, I do carve out time when the notes are released on the platform. So I do carve out about an hour of work time, because you do have to be aware of when those notes are released, because there's lots of people like me out trying to purchase these notes. So you've got to scan through the platform and make some, you don't have to make snap decisions, but you have to be aware of what you're trying to do. And so I do carve a little time out for that. But once you make the purchase of the note, other than running to the bank and wiring some money, really it becomes pretty passive. You'll have an occasional thing come up, like I've had to put one forced place insurance on. I've had to send one letter to one of my performing notes to say you need to pay me, and it started performing right away. So it's been pretty minimal, and I find myself pretty lucky that way. But I don't have to spend a lot of time during the day or during the month to actually manage this. The accounting on a monthly basis takes longer than anything else I have to do, which is really about 15 minutes.
Well, that's the thing that was my vision of NoteSchool, is to have a student range of people that were saying, look, I'm a full-time house buyer. I do this all day, every day. I just want to add creative financing to my business, all the way to somebody that said, what I don't want to do is lose my lifestyle or my connectivity with my family. And I'm looking for something that's a lot less aggravation than rentals, because there's a lot of people. The biggest population out there, Doug, has gone the rental route, and so many of them figured out it wasn't easy. And so that's you caught the experience that I was wanting you to catch, which is why do you own notes? Because you're the bank, not a landlord, right? I mean, 9 notes that produce $7,000 a month net income. That's pretty dang good.
Yeah, it sure beats the return as well as what I was getting in some of my fixed assets before, even on the stock market. I mean, I've had a couple good years for sure in the stock market, but you know how the last year has gone. And so I still have quite a bit tied up into the stock market just because it's in 401k money. So someday when I retire, I will take and convert that into an IRA and put that into a place where I can start investing that into notes as well. Because if I'm getting anywhere from 8.5% to 10% return on my notes, and I mean, just over time in the stock market, you typically don't get that. So why would you trouble yourself with all the heartache and all the ups and downs and the swings that you find when a new president gets elected? It's just, why torture yourself with that when you can buy something that's backed by a house, and it's a real asset, And if something goes wrong, I of course have other options to get my capital back. So it just feels good to me, and it feels like a safe route. And I've just really, and it's been fun too. Going to some of the Note School events. I've met new friends, and they're doing some other things in the business, but we sure have a good time. And you guys will sit with us at the bar for a beer or two, and we enjoy that as well.
It's a family, and we look at it that way. And I think we've hopefully done a good job. They say you don't get to pick your family, you only pick your friends. But I would say we try to pick our friends to become our family. How about that? Yeah. Let's talk. Let's give them an example of a deal. Let's talk about a deal that you've done, just so that they get a sense of what it looks like. You got one that you could think about?
Yeah. So probably my favorite note it's a larger note, the largest one I own. I paid $234,000 for it. It's secured by a house in Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. And the payment that comes off of that is $1,950 a month, and so it's been a real good note. The owner of the house will sometimes miss a month of payment, but then they'll follow up with two payments the next month. So it hasn't been pure the payment comes in the first of the month kind of thing. But I'm okay with that because it is paying, and then being a larger note, the service fee, takes out, $30 to $50, and that's $1,900 net in my pocket every month. So that feels pretty good to me.
Yeah. I mean, one deal that produces that kind of return, and I assume this is a long-term note.
Yeah, it's I don't remember the exact amount left, but probably about 27 years left on the note. 27 years times 2,000 a month. That's got a heck of a payback in the future. That's the thing that I've seen over and over is that, when you really look at these deals, you really talk about it. If you tally up the kind of money, because people kind of get, let's be honest with you, they get a little bit drunk on, well, I made this kind of return. But usually if you look at the cumulative money you can make on these things, it's hard to match it with much else, So the last thing I guess I would say is we talked about your part-timeness, and I think that was an emphasis that when Joe and I were talking about, asking you to be on, you don't have a choice. I mean, you got a busy job during the day, right? Yeah, it's if you've paid attention to healthcare the last 2-3 years, we've had a pretty rough. So yeah, thankfully I've got an amazing team at work. So we run a real good hospital, and we have a lot of great employees, but it takes it takes a lot of time, and I enjoy it, but I've really enjoyed Notes as well. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, I wonder how many people have a part-time investing strategy that they could look back and say, I entered this, I wanted it to be passive. I wanted to make sure that it really worked the way people claimed it worked. So I think you've done a good job of kind of reflecting how we see the note business. I'm glad you see it that way.
Yeah, I think the other thing I could say too is, of course, there's always an investment to join a program, but so I've gotten my money back. The savings I get by buying off of Notes Direct, there's a small discount given to those of us in the program. Yeah. But just by pursuing that, I've got my money back that I made as an investment into NoteSchool.
Well, that was the design, right? I built NoteSchool 20 years ago with one thought in mind. I'm going to build a school to show people how to do the business, so we have a lot of opportunities to do business together. You don't have to go do business with us. I just want to. My father-in-law that taught me the business called it the golden handcuffs. You can have a relationship with people when they naturally want to do business with you, and if you can build a business around that, and they like you and you like them, then you're making money together, and that's you exemplify that. So let's talk about the most important thing of all to wrap this up. And that is your why.
Well, that's a pretty easy one. You know, everybody's got great families, and that's where I start from. Is, you know, I feel like I want to provide for my family. I want to find something that gives me the time to spend with my family. So this has given me that platform. I think over the next 6 months, I've got more capital to deploy. I'll be in a position where I basically have enough income coming off of my notes, so I could quit working. That's probably something I won't do, but it just allows me that freedom. Gives me, you know, my work goes real well too. So I coach my son in basketball. I've coached my daughter in basketball before, and so it gives me that opportunity. So if I ever wanted to step away, we would be secure for our future. So that's my big why.
Biggest inventory of both performing and non-performing notes are coming to us right now than we've seen in many years. So I would say the timing of somebody considering notes is very good. I know that in our corporate meetings right now, that our closing, the number of transactions that we're evaluating and processing and closing are significantly different than they were even a year ago. I mean, significantly different. So this inventory of non-performing notes has finally made it over the mountain. And then there's all these performing notes as well. So I'm gonna say there's good news on the horizon. Mr. Joe, I'm gonna let you come in here and wrap us up, sir.
Yeah. So Eddie, Doug, I've got a couple of things I wanted to, you know, takeaways here from today. So, Doug, I got to tell you, I was all in with $7,100 a month until you said that you have to spend 15 minutes a month managing, you know, your reporting every month. Dang, 15 minutes?
People don't believe that until they understand their service for him, so he didn't have to go do all that math, right?
That's right. And Eddie, number two is that 27 years of payments. That's about, on that one note's about $615,000. So, and Doug, I love what you said. And in all seriousness, when you said this gives me options, I could walk away if I wanted to. Not ready to do that yet, but there are not many things in life that we have that kind of option where it says, hey, because of what I've done since, you know, summer of 2021, I can walk away. That's amazing.
Doug, I'm going to say this to you. I've known a whole lot of people that's owned a whole lot of rent property. Mm-hmm. I find very few people at the end of 10 years that say, man, just give me more rentals. I just love dealing with tenants.
I love it. I love it. Squeezing their blood pressure ball, right?
Yeah. And instead, I would say that I'll bet you my best pair of Texas Cowboy boots, you've been in this a couple of years now. I bet you in another 8 years, you just say, give me more notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Doug, thank you. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up this week's edition of NoteSchool TV. And guys, you know, guys like Doug and Gary from last week, and you know, these are the kind of folks that we have in NoteSchool and that are benefiting from what we teach and the market of buying notes. So whether you're want to get into learning how to do creative financing, performing loans like what Doug is doing on a very, very, very part-time basis, but building big income, or learning more about non-performing loans and the opportunities there, just simply reach out to us. NoteSchool.com/TV, NoteSchool.com/TV, and we would be happy to have a conversation with you about what that looks like and to get you into one of our master classes here very soon. I know many of you made a lot of New Year's New Year's resolutions, and let's keep that up, guys, and let's keep that momentum moving forward. You get enough momentum pushing forward, it's really hard to stop it, and that's what we want to do. We want to show you how to close more deals at NoteSchool. Thanks so much. We will see you next week, where we will bring you the monthly update. So stay tuned. Have a great week.